So the next security setting we're going to investigate here within Active Directory is called Conditional Access. We go into our Active Directory, which is a premium account, scroll down, we can see under security that conditional access is one of the options. We'll go into there. Now, by default, we get this baseline policy which says require multi-factor authentication for admins. I'm going to click into it. We can see that it's explaining it here. Basically, any administrator that is part of this group, which are global Active Directory administrators, or any of the specific applications like SharePoint Exchange or security administrators, they must have multi-factor authentication. And you can see that it's automatically enabled. In the future, use policy immediately, do not use policy. You can sort of set the settings. Also, you can exclude users, although if you're going to set a policy like this, having administrators that don't require multi-factor authentication seems like a security hole. So maybe this isn't the best policy to have exclusions, but you can basically set number of requirements for this. Okay, this comes with it, but we get this concept now, right? So in terms of a conditional access policy, you're basically selecting either all users or specific users, and we're basically selecting which condition we want them to require multi-factor authentication. Very similar to the identity protection feature. Again, this was specifically for administrators, but if we go into here and we say for selected users, and I'm going to select the accounting department again. Got to keep picking on them. For all, so this even includes the portal, right? So anyone who's in the accounting department, this policy, if they get locked out of their account, they're going to get locked out even out of the portal. So make sure there's somebody who can get in. This is only the account department, so let's call this accounting rules. That's fine. I want them to be included. So under what condition do we want accounting users to have to go through multi-factor authentication? So we've got these categories: sign-in risk, which devices they are using, where locations they're in, what apps they're accessing, and what the state of their device is. We'll take one of these one at a time. So again, very similar to the identity protection thing, there is a machine learning element that it basically categorizes someone as low risk, medium risk, or high risk when they do a sign-in. And so that's sort of the definition of that. And so if we want to say, well, if they are in a high risk situation, we want this policy to apply to them. Device platforms, if they are using a let's say they're using a phone device, so Android, iOS, and Windows Phone are the platforms that we want this policy to apply to. But if they're using a desktop, then the policy doesn't apply to them. Do we want any locations? So we can basically say any location that they're in is this policy will apply, or any trusted location or other locations. Okay, so let's not configure locations. Again, which apps they're going to be through browser or mobile apps, or any apps that you register to your account, and whether they are in a part of the hybrid network, etc. Okay, so we'll leave that turned off. So this is basically for high sign-in risks in fact, I'm going to change this to all platforms. So no matter what platform you're on, if you are high risk, this policy will apply to you. Now, what do we want to happen for all users in the accounting group who are part of a high risk situation? Again, we can either block access to them, or we can grant access to them with multi-factor authentication, requiring them to be on a specific device like their office laptop versus personal laptop. They have to be part of the hybrid network, so logged into a Windows single sign-on, they have to be using an approved app in order to do the login, etc. So we can basically set the controls here. There's also session level controls, and so we can basically allow them to log into the application, but then give them very limited things that they can do within this single sign-on application. There, here we are. We can turn this policy on. So I'm going to go back to the access controls. I'm going to say grant access but require multi-factor authentication. Turn the policy on and hit create. And so now we have a requiring multi-factor authentication for all admins, and multi-factor authentication will be required if people are logged in what Azure identifies as a high-risk scenario, no matter what type of device they use, or Windows device or a Mac or a mobile device, they're going to have to go through multi-factor authentication as well. So that's using conditional access policies to restrict access to your applications and into the portal as well, based on machine learning rules, essentially.